Welcome back to the Secret Lives of Mormon Wives in honor of the new season coming out March 12th. So we're going to do something a little bit different today. I was going to use the iceberg model and talk about what happened in order of least to most dramatic, but then I thought, I'm going to do something a little bit more fun, maybe a little bit silly, if you will, or maybe it's just weird. You let me know. Anyway, I'm Ellie Rachel, and I'm here to make you feel a little bit more sane, but no promises. And welcome to my dinner party. You're here just in time for cocktail hour, and I'm serving these drinks first because they're gonna ruin your appetite, and I'd rather do that now than right before dinner. So please have a seat. And I'm just gonna apologize in advance for this part. If you're my parents or my grandparents, skip until this timestamp. The first drink I'm serving is a burlesque show in New Orleans. The girls did not know what burlesque meant, so they were in shock for most of the show. This drink is made from the blood of virgins because somehow that's what they drank in the show, and I don't know if that was real or how that would be real, but it also has absinthe in it, but the old kind that makes you hallucinate, because one of the burlesque performers pulled a certain rolled up device out of herself. And then she brought it out to the crowd, and Layla took a hit from it because she forgot where it came from. Also, that has to be illegal. Am I stupid? How is that just allowed to happen? I feel like basketball is more strict about the spread of bodily fluids, and yet this burlesque dancer was allowed to just... Anyway, the second drink is a shot that's super gross and no one really wants it. And this is the truth about the size of Jordan's... Earlier in the season, Jen was mad about the fact Jesse's husband, Jordan, gave her a lap dance, and she said something like, "I never asked for your husband to rub his tiny dick on me." Jesse's response to this, as it would be for anyone's, I guess, was she felt the need to prove that it's not small. So she wants to show all of the girls a picture of it next to a ruler. And everyone is like, "Oh my gosh, please do not show me this." And Jesse's like, "Don't worry, I blurred it." But apparently it is not blurred enough because Layla says she could fully see the tip. Anyway, appetizers are served. Our first appetizer is my bad, guys. It's Dakota giving Taylor an ultimatum. I did it again. This appetizer doesn't taste good. I put way too much salt in it, and everyone is spitting it out immediately and cussing me out and being super mean about it, actually. Except that one girl who hates everything and eats 3 things. This is actually her favorite food now, and now she keeps asking me to make more of them. So yeah, up to this point, Taylor and Dakota were co-parenting, not dating, yet still sleeping together. And then Dakota has a moment where he's like, I should give Taylor an ultimatum. She has to decide if she wants to get married or say goodbye to this, which is ironic because earlier Taylor was threatening to leave him if she found out he cheated, and he had a huge problem with that. He was like, "She can't keep holding that over my head. It's not fair." And now he's just doing the same thing. It's like he just discovered the concept of people breaking up because they're not working out. He's like, "I really need to just stand my ground and do what will make me happy in the end. Be my guest, dude. Go right ahead. Goodbye." But anyway, in the end, Taylor decides to leave him for good. That's her response to the ultimatum, and words cannot describe how much I hope she sticks with that decision. The other part of this appetizer, I guess the sauce you dip it in or something, is during the reunion, I was not on the interviewer's side here. Sorry, Nick Vile. I'm sure you're lovely, but this take was not it. He says something like, "Your guys' storyline made me so sad because I see a lot of love between you two, but there's just too much damage, and that sucks." Her family is already shaming her enough into staying with this man. We don't need you on that bandwagon as well. Oh my gosh, let this woman be free. Let her find peace and happiness in her life. And then he's like, "But why couldn't you just be honest with Taylor about hooking up with the other girl instead of lying about it for the entire relationship?" Which ended up being the biggest problem to Taylor, was the fact that he lied. Dakota was telling Taylor that he wasn't hooking up with anyone else. And then when Taylor found out he was the first time, she was crying about it, and then he did it again the same day, almost like he couldn't stop himself. And I will admit it, no matter how much pain it brings me, his explanation does kind of make sense. First of all, he lied because he thought, well, the truth would only hurt, which is, I guess it's wrong, but it's a common sentiment. But the reason he kept hooking up with this other girl at the worst times stems from his struggle with addiction. He says for him, having experienced the high of certain drugs, sex just does not compare. He says being high is up here, and then sex is down there. Because once you know what being high feels like, stuff that once brought you pleasure is not going to do it for you anymore. So he's scrambling to get a rush. He's hooking up with this other girl almost compulsively, probably in an effort to feel something. And then the interviewer asks, do you think you're capable of being a loyal and honest partner? And he says, yes, absolutely. I've been working on myself and I've changed. And I get all that. I get it. But it doesn't matter. For Taylor, I think the lying and the cheating was the biggest problem. But for me, it's not at all. The problem is he's simply misogynistic. Like, there's no other way to put it. He talks down to her. He gets angry with her for things that are not her fault. He talks to her mom disrespectfully. He calls her nasty, degrading names. None of the other stuff matters because he's still misogynistic. Like, why are we talking about the other stuff at all? But anyway, we're not talking about Dakota for the rest of this video because if you've been to my channel before, you know where I stand. You know how I feel about him. Our next appetizer is Brett being controlling towards his wife, Demi. On one of the girls' trips, they decide to go skinny dipping in the hot tub. That's why this is a bikini, even though the whole point of skinny dipping is that you're not wearing it. Well, and Demi is like really excited. Like she's already decided she's going to do it. But then she's on the phone with her husband, Brett, and he's like, maybe you shouldn't do that actually. And so she changes her mind and doesn't do it. To this, Taylor is like, Demi, you give people crap all the time for being controlled by their partners. And now you're doing the same thing. But I don't know, guys. Brett is the guy who was completely fine with Demi going on stage with the Chippendales dancers and touching them and rubbing oil on their bodies. I don't think he's controlling. My guess is that he just wanted to remind her that maybe it's not the best idea to get completely naked on TV. And then she probably thought about it and then agreed. I think if she still wanted to do it, she would have. Like, this was probably her realization. Like, yeah, that's true. Maybe I shouldn't be naked on camera. Like, I don't think it's that crazy. This next appetizer is Whitney's conflict with the whole group. This one is too filling to be an appetizer. So normally I would have to keep going around like, don't eat too much of this or you won't eat your dinner. But I actually don't have to do that this time because the flavor is just so bland that people are actually not eating that much of it. AKA, I don't really care about this story. This plot point is just boring to me, if I'm being honest, so we're skipping most of it. All you need to know is Michaela still doesn't like Whitney, and then Whitney had to answer the question, do you regret not showing up to Macy's super important event? And Macy was pretty upset about this, but Whitney said no, she doesn't regret it because she's like, that's what I felt at the time. And now I was able to learn from that experience or something like that. And if I did go, I wouldn't have been able to learn. And it's like, she could have just said, yes, I regret it and I'm sorry, but I'm glad I learned from it. But instead, Whitney is like arguing semantics and like what the word regret means. And it's just weird. Like, just say you're sorry. Like, what are you doing? Now we have the confession about Brett cheating on Demi. This appetizer is a little bit spicy, so it's not for everyone, but I'm betting you'll like it because you clicked on this video. Macy does this thing on Instagram called Sinner Sundays, where she has people send in anonymous confessions and then she posts them. She got one that said Brett, Demi's husband, slept with another girl while Demi was away. And Demi really does not take this to heart at first. She says, we've been apart maybe 5 days for our entire marriage, and we're constantly in contact, so he would really have to scheme in order to make that work. But like, I've seen these girls go on several girls' trips over the course of the show, so they definitely are apart enough, right? So I don't know why she keeps making that as her main point. But Demi confronts Brett about it. She's not accusing him of doing it. She's more like complaining that this rumor is going on and how it sucks. But Brett is like very upset about it. He's like, we have to find out who said it, track them down and go after them. And Demi is like, damn, why does it bother you that much if it's not true? It's just a rumor. And at first I was like, well, I mean, it is bad that the internet thinks you cheated on your wife. Like, I'd be pretty mad too. Like, that would suck. But later that night, I got a weird vibe because he was like continuing to bring it up and over explaining like crazy. He's like repeating over and over, you know I wouldn't do that, right? You know that. I would never even be able to do that. You know that, right? Do you get that I'd never do that to you? And Demi is like, yeah. And eventually she's like, okay, now you sound guilty. Like, if I was hiding something, this is how I would act. And that's what she says. So I don't know. Maybe we'll find out in season 3. Okay, cocktail hour is officially over. I'm leading you into the dining room now. And oh, look, there's bread already on the table. And it's the Great Mormon Bake Off. Get it? Because it's bread. This won't take long because salads are going to be served soon. But basically, they do a Mormon-themed Great British Bake Off. It's Whitney's idea. They're supposed to bring a baked good, and they will be judged on both how it tastes and how well it fits the Mormon theme. Whitney is making sourdough, Therefore, Michaela decides to also make sourdough so that she can make it better than Whitney's. She even hires someone to teach her how to make it. And Whitney decides to put the letters CTR on her bread because it's a Mormon symbol that stands for choose the right. I'm not sure what it means, but it's an important symbol. And then coincidentally, Michaela also put CTR on hers. So they show up with identical bread. But Michaela actually makes 4 things. So she ends up having to choose just one to put in the competition. And she chooses her pumpkin pie. So we never actually get to know who won or who made the best sourdough, which I'm kind of sad, but anyway. So Miranda made a coffee cake, and Mormons can't even have coffee. So that is just not anywhere close to being on theme. Taylor bought an apple pie from the store and transferred it to a plate and then entered that into the competition. And Demi made a better than what cake, which looks delicious, but the way she made it fit the Mormon theme was to put candy pieces all over it to symbolize breaking Mormon stereotypes and standing up to the patriarchy or something. But she won the competition because the cake just tasted so good. And Michaela is pissed because she had a pieces of Jesus on her pumpkin pie and they docked her points because they thought it was like sexy Jesus and they said it was sacrilegious. But yet the cake with pieces on it is perfectly fine. Okay, here's your salad. What am I doing? And it is the real reason Taylor exposed the swinging. And we need to eat this salad in order to continue on to dinner because it really puts into perspective why Taylor would do something that crazy. So Taylor was swinging with a group of husbands and wives. No one knew about it at this point except for them. But one day, someone in the group exposed something specifically that Taylor did. And either that person or the internet took it and ran. Suddenly, Taylor's social media was flooded with comments. People were accusing her of cheating on her husband, being a homewrecker, a best friend stealer, and so on. And it was someone who was close to Taylor that caused these rumors to start. So she was like, fine. You want to know what really happened? I'll tell you what happened. We were all swinging with each other. Don't call me a husband stealer when we were all doing this. And she explains all of this during the reunion, except she uses a lot harsher language than I am. And everyone is so Mormon. They're just shocked at her language. I don't even think they're registering what she's saying. They're just like, oh, every time she says like the F word. And Taylor's like, well, another wife was my husband's. And then everyone looks at Miranda like, and Miranda goes, not me. So more people were involved? Who? Are they people who left immediately when Taylor exposed it, like Miranda did? Are they gonna suddenly show up in season 4? Okay, the wine is being served now. Obviously, it's a dinner party, and you didn't think I would have bottle service. Who do you think I am? I'm Ellie Rachel, the super famous and super successful YouTuber. Wow. In all seriousness, though, I was just trying to be funny. But I actually am super grateful for all 30 of my subscribers. I was ready to run through a wall when I got 1 subscriber. And then it happened 29 more times. Like, I actually can't believe there are 30 people in the world who actually liked what I made enough to subscribe. Like, that is mind-boggling to me. If you're one of them, thank you so much. Words cannot even describe how much that means to me. Making these videos is my dream, and nothing makes me happier than the fact that 30 of you watched and then decided to support me. Like, what is happening? But anyway, you might not recognize the brand of this wine because it's so expensive. You've probably never seen it in your life, but it's called Pregnancy Roulette. Here you go. Here's your glass. It's babies. Also, don't say anything about my hair. I don't know what happened. So, Pregnancy Roulette was Layla's idea. And I'm so surprised that it was her because this is the dumbest idea I've ever heard in my life. Like, this is way worse than any of the truth boxes. And I've never seen Layla cause any drama whatsoever. Like, usually she's the most normal one. Wait, hold on. I just realized I chose this story to be the wine because it's being served right before dinner. And it's like the point where stuff starts to get real. But why am I just now realizing I chose the one story that has to do with pregnancy to be the alcoholic portion of the meal? I was not intending to like do a dark humor thing. Like, I really did not think of that until right now. Maybe I should have just done the iceberg model. Like, I don't even know if the dinner party analogy is making any sense, but oh well, sorry, it's too late. Pregnancy roulette. Oh no! Pregnancy roulette was a TikTok trend at some point. Everyone takes a pregnancy test and they have to cover up the result with tape, put all the tests in a bowl, and then each person randomly draws one and looks at the result. What is the objective of this game? You might find out someone is pregnant and then you don't know who. That's it. Why is that fun for anyone? But don't worry, it's actually way worse than I just made it sound. For 2 reasons. First reason, Macy is pregnant, and she's really excited about it. She has a whole plan for how she was going to tell the girls, and it's not playing pregnancy roulette. And she can't say no to playing because that's just as suspicious. And the second reason, Demi and Brett are struggling with their fertility, and Demi really wants to get pregnant, and as of right now, she can't. So they're going to make her reach in and pull out a pregnancy test that might be positive, have her hold that pregnancy test in her hand, and not know if it's hers or not. That is trauma. And that is exactly what happens. There are 2 positive pregnancy tests, and Demi is the one to draw one of them. And she's crying because she is now traumatized. And everyone is just staring at her like, oh, well, what do we do now? And then Jesse says, okay, if you're pregnant, you have to fess up right now because this isn't cool. Like, what was the point of playing this game? Why did anyone agree to this? How did no one point out how terrible of an idea this was? So Demi goes to her room, and some of the girls follow to comfort her. So now Macy and Michaela are talking privately, and Michaela reveals that she's pregnant, not knowing the other positive was Macy's. And Michaela's distraught. She's like, now I feel ashamed that it's me. I feel like my pregnancy is a bad thing. How am I supposed to tell them? And then Macy reveals that she's the one who's pregnant also, and they have a sweet moment because they're best friends and now they're pregnant together. Like, that's the dream. And they contemplate for a little about what to do, but they decide to reveal it to the group because at this point, it's the only option. Like, Demi should know that it wasn't her test. She deserves that. And I really admire them for doing that and giving up on their original plans in order to help her feel better. And vice versa, I admire Demi for her response. She congratulates them and apologizes for making their good news into a bad thing and clarifies that she's very happy for them. So that's that. Dinner is served. And I have to say it, I have just outdone myself. This meal has 5 courses with many different flavors, which all complement each other in a beautiful yet terrifying way. So let's eat. The first course. So off camera, Demi did something really slimy. Demi was offered a bigger contract and more money if she was willing to kick Jesse off the show. And Demi said yes. Demi and Jesse are best friends. And it's not just that. Demi was talking a lot of shit. She spent a lot of time trying to convince everyone to agree with her. Her main point was that Jesse already had so much money from her hair business. So it's selfish of her to stay on the show anyway and not let everyone else get more money. And Demi felt she deserved more money because she's a fan favorite. But obviously it didn't happen because Jesse's still here. And get this, Jesse's okay with it. She forgives her, so they're still best friends. Taylor, however, doesn't let her off too easily. She's like, I'm literally the one who got everyone this show. So if anyone deserves to be paid the most, it's me. And even I wouldn't agree to have anyone kicked off. And also, Jesse is your best friend. Who would do that? And Demi is like, well, we were fighting at the time, so that's why I did it. And Taylor's like, wow, so if we were fighting, you would have done that to me too? And Demi says, no, that's different. She just admits in front of everyone that she views Taylor as more valuable and more deserving than her best friend, Jessie. Remember all this. It's important. The second course is CMA Gate. Taylor got to host the CMAs, which is the Country Music Awards, I think. So that's a big deal. I mean, this is a huge step in her career as a celebrity. So she went to the CMAs, made a post about it, and no one in Mom Talk commented on it in the first 24 hours. And apparently that's never happened before. Usually they all comment. And Taylor's thinking, well, that's odd. Not a single one of them was on their phone for 24 hours. It wouldn't be as weird if at least one of them commented. But the fact that no one did makes Taylor feel like this was planned. That all the girls got together and planned to not comment on her post, which sounds crazy, but I can say from personal experience, if you stay inside your head long enough, you can convince yourself of anything. So Taylor posts something on her story calling them out for not commenting. Everyone sees it, and at first they think it's a joke. They're like, are you seriously mad we didn't comment? We all texted you how proud we were and reached out in other ways, which is true. They did congratulate her and support her, just not in the comment section of her post. The problem with this, according to Taylor, is that social media is literally their careers. So it is actually just as important that they engage on social media. But what do I think of this? Yeah, no, Taylor, that's crazy. I actually do agree with you on everything else. Like, social media is your career. So it is weird that no one commented. But why didn't you just remind them to comment? Why didn't you just text them? Anyway, Michaela and Macy are great friends, so instead of just being mad at Taylor for this and ignoring her, they give her some grace and actually try to talk some sense into her. And they actually do get Taylor to realize why that was wrong. Because after Taylor posted her story, all of her fans went after the other girls and bullied them. So Taylor is like, yeah, that makes sense. That's my bad. The post was petty. I didn't realize that would happen. I shouldn't have done that. So now it seems like the conflict is resolved, or at least it's heading in that direction soon, right? But it has only just begun, because the fourth course is now served. Demi is pissed. When CMA Gate happened, everyone was at least a little bit mad, because all of a sudden they got attacked by a bunch of Taylor stans. Demi, however, she takes this to a whole other level. She's ready to start World War III over this. And the way she reacts to this situation is insane. So after Taylor talked with Macy and Michaela and realized she was wrong, she sent an apology into the group chat, to which Demi responds with an entire book saying that she doesn't accept the apology and why. So let's read them. Taylor says, I wanted to come here and apologize for my petty post. I wasn't going to apologize because I truly felt off by it. However, how I handled it was not okay. I didn't think about big picture, and that's on me. And I can't really understand what the rest of it says, but Demi's response is, I appreciate the attempt, but I do not accept this as a true apology. I would appreciate this apology so much more if you just apologize and then shut up, like you suggested Whitney to do, and I can't read the rest of that. Bringing your issue with Miranda and Whitney in here like that is yet again so inappropriate. You really need to learn how to appropriately handle conflict. Noted. Well, at least I sent an apology, more than you ever did for me, and I've had your back this entire time because why? You're proving right now that you're genuinely not sorry. This is all I need to say. I'm sorry to those who want to accept it. I didn't even need to say anything. I chose to because I listened to some advice and sat with it. Don't accept it. I think you're a bitch, how you just responded. Definitely having been waiting on my downfall, and here you go, Demi. What you think of me has nothing to do with me. Take a look in the mirror. How you handled me not accepting your form of an apology says more about you than it will ever say about me. Remember who was in the wrong here. You should be kissing our feet and seeking to genuinely make it right in the way that we feel fit, not yours. Well, that's good. And there's a separate group chat with just Demi, Jesse, Michaela, Macy, and Layla in it. And the things that were said in this group chat were so bad that Layla felt obligated to show them to Taylor. And we're going to read these too. Jesse says, no, B, that's literally her just dissociating and pretending she's not in the wrong. Demi says, what does her caption even mean? She's dumber than a rock, truly. Hopefully they are silent then too. B, we're being gaslit. Like, what the... And Jesse says, she is batshit crazy. She'll never realize it. She's very unwell in every sense of the word. But her online minions are going to go after us because she's the leader. And I can't read the rest of that. But then it seems like not everyone is as mad as Demi, because then Demi goes, is anyone going to respond, or am I left on an island yet again? Does no one else feel like they are owed a sincere apology? Because that's what she's asking while demonizing me, and everyone but Whitney is silent. She cannot let certain things go. It's like the Jenna thing. She fixates on things, and it's weird. Jenna is the girl Dakota cheated on Taylor with. You're saying, oh, she fixates on Jenna? No shit. If that were any of you, I'd have your back in 5 seconds. I just didn't respond because I honestly don't want to unless it's on camera. I don't feel like I should have to associate, blah, blah, blah. Okay, fair. I'm coming to you guys out of genuine confusion. Like, why is no one else in there setting her straight for being awful? Okay, so that's that. So Demi is trying to explain why Taylor is literally Satan, and Jesse is just agreeing with everything. And it's pretty crazy how loyal Jesse is to Demi still, considering the fact that she literally tried to get her kicked off the show. So the Saints and Sinners party rolls around. As soon as the girls are all together, Taylor apologizes again for what happened. She's like, that was petty of me to post that story. I didn't realize how many people would come after you because of it. And Jesse is like, okay, well, how did you not know that? You know what kind of platform you have. And then Taylor says, well, you guys think I'm dumber than a rock, so that's... Okay, so petty Tay's coming out, right? But can you blame her? They kind of walked right into that one. The girls just explained again, well, what you did was wrong because of this and this and this, stuff that Taylor already said. And Taylor is like, yes, you're right. And she apologizes again. At this point, the group is nodding and seemingly in agreement that this is acceptable, but not to me. She continues the back and forth, and the tension just keeps rising until Taylor says to her, I think you're fake. And to me, says, why? And I'll tell you why. It's the fourth course. It is Hairgate, aka Demi betrays Jesse again. Apparently, Demi told Taylor not to go to Jesse for hair. She said, Jesse is bad at hair. I just keep going because I feel like I have to, but you should definitely go to someone else. And when Taylor says this, Jesse's face drops. Keep in mind, up to this point, Jesse had been almost blindly loyal to Demi and backed her up on everything. And Demi had already tried to get Jesse kicked off the show for more money. And now it seems she's also sending her clients away behind her back. Jessie is visibly upset. Like, you can tell she's kind of in shock and just rethinking all of her life choices after hearing this. But then Whitney and Miranda say something like, well, don't try to turn Jesse and Demi against each other now. Like, that wasn't the point. And then Taylor tries to explain why it actually is relevant. And she's addressing the group when she's speaking, because that's who she's talking to. And then Demi says, look at me, because this is about me. Look me in the eyes, you narcissist. First of all, I need to point out the irony in saying the phrase, look at me because this is about me, while calling someone else a narcissist. But Demi keeps going. She's like, should we talk about the way you treat your boyfriend? It's not okay what you did to him. Take accountability for what you do. Every time you're with us, you're going through a hard time. And it's always because of something you did. You need to own up to that. I would never do that to my child. And that's the moment Demi officially made it on my shit list. Everyone's looking around like, what the hell is she talking about? But she keeps going and going. And eventually, Whitney asked to Taylor, okay, all I want to know is, are you sorry? And Taylor says, once again, yes. Oh my gosh, but it gets so much worse. Later in the show, the group is on a trip, and Taylor didn't go. So Demi takes this opportunity to continue talking and talking about how terrible Taylor is and trying her absolute hardest to get everyone to agree. But if it wasn't clear before, it's definitely clear now that the other girls are simply not as mad as her. Demi is speaking like everyone agrees with her, and they simply do not. She's like, we need to discuss whether or not we think she deserves to be here. She chases chaos. Meanwhile, she's not even here. I can't think of a bigger indicator that someone doesn't chase chaos. The fact that she didn't come on this trip. And Demi is like, why does she still get to remain the leader of Mom Talk? And Macy says, well, because she started it. And the girls are just trying to say, like, we accept her apology. We're good. If she does it again, we'll talk. But as of now, we're good. And then Demi goes, how many chances do you have to give someone before you realize that they're a psychotic child? And then the craziest part, she says, if Taylor's in, I'm out. Now, most of the girls are starting to speak up, because that's just too far. Demi keeps slinging out all these meaningless points, and they just shut down every single one, and it is glorious to watch. Michaela says, oh, what if I did that with me and Whitney? Because they have problems with each other. What if I said, if Whitney's in, I'm out? That wouldn't be fair. And Demi says, well, that's different, because Taylor affects the whole group. Whitney's been here all weekend, and it's been great. And Michaela says, yeah, for you. If Taylor was here, it would have just been bad for you, not for me. And then Demi goes on like, well, Taylor's a liability. This isn't the Taylor show. And Macy says, I haven't felt that way. And then Demi says, why are we giving Taylor all these business opportunities? And Layla says, well, because she's the reason we have most of these opportunities. And then Demi says, if we treated this like a normal business, Taylor would have already been gone. Demi, what are you talking about? If this was a normal business, Taylor would be the owner. This is her brand, her idea. She would own your business if this was normal. And you would not be talking this way about her. Genuinely, what do you mean she would be gone already? You would be gone already. Finally, Demi gives it up for the night and tells the interviewers, I am so disappointed in everyone. I feel like I'm on an island right now. Take that as a sign, Demi. If everyone is the asshole, you might be the asshole. The fifth course is now served, and it's the moment you've all been waiting for. Taylor takes her power back. So they are having a mom talk meeting. This was Demi's idea, because for some reason, she still thinks she can get everyone to agree that Taylor should be kicked off, despite them already all saying the opposite. And before it even starts, Demi asks Jessie how she feels about Taylor. And Jessie says again, she's good with Taylor. She apologized. We're good. And they talk about whether or not to let Whitney back in. They all vote and discuss their reasoning. And Taylor is like, I can be cordial with Whitney, but right now I can't with Demi. And Demi takes it in a different way. She goes, we're not voting on me. What the is wrong with you? You're so weird. I'm already in mom talk. We're not voting on people already in mom talk. What are you doing? And Taylor is like, I never said we were voting. Talk about projection. And then Taylor brings up the fact that Demi said, if Taylor's in, then I'm out. And Demi goes, who told you I said that? And it's like, did you intend for her not to know? Why would you want her to not know? I mean, we know you said it when she was not there. Like, was that really on purpose? Like, that's kind of insane. She has to find out eventually. But Taylor's like, why does that matter? And Demi says, it doesn't matter. And then Taylor's like, well, you asked. And Demi's response to that is, let's take the bitch level down a notch. Taylor was a bitch for telling you that you asked? What? And then she's like, you twisted that hair story around, which Taylor is like, no, that was true. And then Taylor brings up the fact that her smear campaign against her has really affected her life. And it's just gone too far. And she's like, you're doing like life ruining level of stuff. Like the shit that you're talking about me on social media and all this, you're intending to ruin my life, but you don't think about those consequences of what you do because you're a selfish bitch. And then Demi has this like villain laugh.
Oh.
Because I think in this moment, she thinks she's won. She's like, yay, Taylor has shown her true colors. She used the word bitch. Now everyone's going to be on my side, which, okay. But everything escalates like super far. Like Demi is like coming after her family. But Jesse is like, what are we going to do if you can't coexist? And Taylor's like, well, I'm not the one with the ultimatum. And then Demi says, how can you guys be friends with her? She's a disgusting human being. She's disgusting. And thank God everyone else stood up to this. Michaela says, no one else feels this strongly about it. And even Jesse says, yeah, this is between you two for sure. And then at this point, Demi is just so pissed that they don't have her back. She's like, knowing the kind of friend I am and everything I've done for you, if it was one of you, I would have fought to the death to defend you. I've been so loyal to all of you. And then Taylor says, if you feel that way, there's the door. And Demi gets up and says, I'm going to take some time to decide if I want to stay, if you don't mind. Okay, now that we've eaten dinner, we're going to have some fennel. Fennel helps you digest, and it's also a good palate cleanser, which you are definitely going to need before I bring out the dessert. This is just a brief, funny story. Michaela is terrified of car washes, but her daughter absolutely loves them. So she braves her fear and takes her to a car wash and proceeds to do everything wrong. She drives into the wrong spot several times. She has to back up and try again, and then the machine doesn't work because her car wasn't in neutral or something. But she finally makes it through, and it turns out her daughter was asleep for the whole thing. So it was all for nothing. The end. All right, is your palate cleansed? Let me get the dessert. This dessert, I went overboard, guys. I slaved over this in the kitchen all day. So you're gonna eat it and you're gonna enjoy it. This dessert is called Marciano. Something happened in Italy between either Jesse, Demi, or both, and a guy named Marciano. So some of the Mormon wives were featured on the show Vanderpump Villa for 2 episodes, and I watched them. So we're going to talk about all that. But first, let's talk about what the rumors are. Both Jen and Layla, who were also on this trip, both said that Demi was acting inappropriately with Marciano, and they suspected they could have hooked up or something. But also, people have said Jessie was seen making out with Marciano in a public place, and her response to this is strange. She said, if I was dumb enough to do that, I wouldn't have done it in public. Girl, if I was accused of cheating on my husband, my response wouldn't be, well, why would I do that in public? Unless I'm cheating on my husband. But also, Demi sent Jen a cease and desist to keep her from talking about what happened in Italy. We don't know what, and we don't find out much else until the reunion special. But after the trip, Demi called Jen and tried to coach her on what to say to the public regarding Demi and Marciano. And Jen recorded the conversation because of how weird it was. So we were able to actually hear it. And Demi's telling her, just say you support me and Brett and that nothing inappropriate happened and that you love and respect me or something like that. And Jen is like, I don't know. If someone asked me about this, I'm probably just going to not say anything. And that was not good enough for Demi because shortly after this phone call, Jen received the cease and desist. So what the hell did Demi do in Italy? Or Jesse? What the hell happened? Layla takes it upon herself, she's a little detective, she is, to get to the bottom of it. She meets up with the guy himself, Marciano, and oh man, he is the most flirty ladies' man, I mean, if you want to call it, that I've ever seen. And Layla asks him, what happened between you and Demi? And Marciano says, when the girls came into the villa, we were all under the impression that they might have been swingers. So I was flirting with Demi a lot because I really liked her. And I thought she was flirting with me back, but I was probably wrong because nothing happened between us. So I'm confused because why did Demi send the cease and desist then, if nothing happened? Then Layla asks about Jesse, and Marciano says, it's true, they did make out, but that's not it. He tells Layla they fully hooked up, and they continued talking about meeting up afterwards. This was a full-blown affair. Again, why did Demi send the cease and desist? I think she is definitely still hiding something. But if so, why would Marciano cover for her, but throw Jesse under the bus so quickly? My suspicions only grew when I saw these texts at the reunion between Demi and Marciano. Let's read them. Demi says, get excited, haha, baptized by fire. Is this how you sweet talk all the ladies? Marciano says, baptized by fire? Oh no, all right if that's what you want from me, lol. I didn't realize I was sweet talking you. And Demi says, lol, hate you. And then she sends a picture of oysters and says, gonna hurl. And Marciano responds, it says, lol, don't be a baby. And Demi says, it's no different than swallowing, and I wholeheartedly stand by that. Okay. Now, this isn't evidence by any means that there was an affair, but it's weird at the very least. Jessie is the one who shows us these receipts. Demi and Brett are not there for the reunion, so she can't answer to them. But Jordan, Jessie's husband, says he's tried to tell Brett about this many times, but that he just doesn't want to hear it. But then the heat turns back on Jessie, and the interviewer asks, did you hook up with Marciano though? And Jessie says, I can't answer because we're not supposed to talk about it until season 3. To this, we see Jordan scoff. Meanwhile, she's not wearing her wedding ring. Okay, now I'm going to talk about what I saw on Vanderpump Villa. So the girls who went to Italy were Jessie, Demi, Jen, Michaela, and Layla. And this trip actually happened right before Jen moved to Arizona to be with Zach. So it was supposed to be a last hurrah for her. Marciano is part of the staff at this villa. Immediately when the girls arrive, the other staff have to tell Marciano, relax, I think they're all married. But Layla and Demi actually seem to know Marciano from before, or at least have mutual friends with him. So Demi and Marciano were talking, and Demi asks him if he's interested in anyone at the villa. And he says, you mean out of the other staff or out of you guys? And then Demi says, wait, are you allowed to make a move on the other guests? Then Marciano mentions that he's getting off early and that he'll be able to hang out with them later. And Demi looks very excited about this. To clarify, no, I do not think this is Demi flirting. But at this point, it's very clear that Marciano is, based on other stuff I saw. When a guy is flirting with you, he's looking for signals from you to see if it's working. And you have to recognize that. So no, she wasn't flirting back, but she was definitely sending some signals at least that meant it's okay that you are flirting. That's all I'm saying. The only other thing we see is Demi and Marciano having a long private chat one night, and things got pretty deep. They referred to it as a therapy session, and they were talking about like their relationships and stuff. And Demi mentions that she almost divorced Brett, her husband, 27 times. Again, not flirting, but not the best thing to say to somebody who clearly wants to hit it. At the end of this trip, Marciano wants to say goodbye to Demi in private, and he actually has tears in his eyes when she leaves. Like, he really, really liked her. Like, she changed his life. And I know what your next question is. No, I did not see anything happen between Jessie and Marciano. Nothing. Okay, I hope everyone enjoyed their dessert. We are now serving some coffee so that you can drive home. No, I'm just kidding. I've already taken your keys and thrown them in a fire. You definitely can't drive home. You've had way too much wine tonight. Anyway, this coffee is intended to help you transition from this lovely dinner party back into the real world. And the brand I'm using is called Nurses Are Sick as Hell. Just from watching through the screen, a bunch of nurses, like from real life, were able to recognize that Jessie might have had a health problem, which could have been a life-threatening condition. So they sent her a ton of DMs letting her know. And because of that, Jessie was able to go to the doctor and get it fixed. Doesn't that just make you feel a little bit better about the world? Okay, friends, I think that wraps up our lovely evening. Let me know what you thought about this format in the comments. Was it fun or was it just weird? I'm planning to talk about the third season soon. Hopefully I can finish it in time before the new season comes out. But anyway, I hope you had a good time. Bye, friends.